All righty, almost there. Sorry, everybody. Presenter view. There we go. All right, give me a big thumbs up if on your screen you see an orange screen that says Claremont High School preseason conditioning meeting. Excellent. So what I want to reiterate what Coach or our athletic director, Mr. Novak, said. I know that there are going to be a lot of questions about our return to our preseason conditioning, and we are hopefully going to answer as many of those as we can. We do have a Q&A portion of this presentation at the end, but please feel free if there's questions that you guys have to pop those in the chat, and Mr. Novak or Vice Principal Thomas or I will do our best to answer those. But like I said, we'll also give you guys time at the end to ask some of those questions. As somebody who was a three-sport athlete in high school and had the chance to play a little bit in college, I'll tell you, I'm super excited to get athletics back up and running. We're not going to have all the answers. This is a time where it seems like information is changing daily, but what I will say is we do have a commitment from Scott Giusti, who oversees athletics for San Diego Unified, to really have a strong push to get kids back and plugged into athletics. So as far as kind of this evening, we're going to share some information. You're going to get a chance to at least hear a little bit about some safety procedures and some protocols that we're going to have to be enforcing, but not only as an admin team, but also our coaches as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule as it unfolds starting next week. So a couple quick things that I wanted to share is like I shared in the letter, the 3 sports that are going to be part of phase 1 are football, cross country, and field hockey. So if you're here and maybe that's a sport that you're not interested in, this is still a presentation that's pertinent for you, because at some point in time when your sport does come back to on-site practices and conditioning, you're going to have to review this material as well. But for the phase 1 portion of this reopening and this conditioning, it's really focused on football, cross country, and field hockey. So the remaining sports that are part of our fall season, you can see up there: badminton, competitive cheer, boys and girls volleyball, and boys and girls water polo will be part of phase 2. We have not been given a specific date as to what that phase 2 date will be, but I think a lot of it depends on our ability to implement some of these safety precautions with fidelity. So what I encourage you to do, especially our student athletes, you are going to be able to pave the way for the rest of your friends and fellow athletes to come back to campus based on how we do in terms of implementing phase 1. So as far as this phase 1, all conditioning is going to take place in outdoor facilities. We will not have students inside in weight rooms. We will not be in gyms. Everything will be outdoors on the various facilities that we have here at Claremont. And another thing that we're going to be purposeful in doing is making sure that the start and end times of each of those 3 sports, football, cross country, and field hockey, don't take place at the same time. We want to make sure we limit the number of students that are entering and exiting campus at one time. So I know Mr. Novak has worked with Coach Bello, with Coach Rose, and Coach Burdell to make sure that we've staggered those start and end times. Again, things like locker rooms, gyms, weight rooms, classrooms will not be in use. So students need to come dressed and ready to go. They won't be able to change in a locker room or in a bathroom or in a weight room or anything like that. And then all of the sessions, like I said, will be limited to times that are staggered, but also these will not be during any instructional time. So we're going to have all of our conditioning done after school hours. All right, Mr. Novak, you're up.
So conditioning is not mandatory, although it would be probably rather beneficial for most of the athletes here at Claremont. I don't know how active you've been. Hopefully you've been incredibly active. It is not mandatory to make it onto the CIF team, which starts December 12th if all things go according to plan. There are a few, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. Because it is not a CIF sport, as of right now, we are technically a club sport, and we will go into the AAU portion of that in just a second. The physicals and the athleticClearance.com portion is not mandatory as of now, but I would still work on getting that done prior to December 12th, because as soon as December 12th rolls around, you can't just keep practicing with the CIF team with just the AAU club membership. You would need to have that physical by the doctor and the athletic clearance completed as well. So make sure that you're still working on that in this time. So coaches are going to be doing daily screening checks we will give them thermometers to use so that they can so they can do temperature checks. But the most important thing, and again, we'll talk about that in like 2 slides, I think, there is an app now called ClearPass that you can get onto your phone, and that will help to speed up the process of doing your daily self checks for no symptoms and everything. Did I hit everything there? Okay.
Okay, so that's me. So I am going to be discussing your ClearPass. So when you look back at these slides, you will see the first few steps on there. One of them is to take your temperature at home. This would be the best case scenario, so we don't have kids that are clumping up all together to get their temperature checked. Once you do that, and as you're on your way to school to go into your practice, we want you to use what we call the ClearPass. This is an electronic version of a piece of paper where you have to check a bunch of boxes. And those boxes are pertaining to questions about, have you been tested positive for COVID? Have you had a cough? Have you had something? These are the same things that we have to do as staff if we're trying to get onto campus. This is a safety precaution and it is mandatory. So if you can, we went ahead and put a link in the chat. Please go ahead and download this. This is a PDF and a job aid on how to utilize this document. This is mandatory. If you don't bring your phone and show us a green ClearPass, green means that you are acceptable to practice today or that day, you will have to fill out a piece of paper. And that piece of paper, again, will take more time as well as clump students up, and that's something we're trying to avoid. So please download that PDF that's in the chat right now and have that ready to go, and you'll have to do that for every single practice. Or whichever days you show up to do your conditioning.
Awesome. And so this also will post all this information on how you can access this ClearPass app on our CHS Chieftains website, as well as on our Claremont High School website. But for student athletes, if you're on here, one of the things you're going to have to start to get into the habit of doing is every single day before you come to practice, log in with your student ID and your district password, complete the questionnaire, and as you can see, that third box on the right, when it says green, that means that you're cleared to participate in the conditioning. And and it's date stamped and time stamped. And so Coach Rose is going to be there, or Coach Bradell is going to be there, and they're going to ask to see the screenshot or that picture of your essentially your pass to be cleared to participate. So for those student athletes, we want to make sure we start getting in the habit of using that ClearPass app. All right, so I'm going to go over a number of safety precautions. And like I said, you will have access to all of these, but these are safety precautions that were developed in collaboration with a number of different people. So our nursing and wellness department, our district doctor, Dr. Howard Terrace, as well as with input from various medical professionals at UCSD and USD. So the first thing is for all conditioning, both entering, exiting campus, and during conditioning activities, face masks are mandatory. And one of the things I do want to point out is we'll be getting a list of acceptable and non-acceptable face masks out to students and families. And we are going to do our best to have some extra ones on hand for the coaches as well. But that's something that we want to make sure we're very clear about. And our district doctor has asked us to be very clear about, is that face masks are mandatory for all aspects of conditioning. And so athletes must be wearing face masks that cover both their nose and their mouth. And all coaches will also be required to wear face masks while they're on campus for the duration of the conditioning. Our coaches are really going to stress the importance and the need for students to stay 6 feet apart from one another in the way that they go about their conditioning, and also to make sure that students are reminded to be wearing their masks that cover both their nose and their mouth, both as they're entering the facility, participating in conditioning, and then exiting the facility. This is another big thing that our district has asked us to really reinforce, is that during conditioning, parents and community members are not allowed to be on site under any circumstances, nor are parents or guardians. If they're picking up their students, they need to remain in the car. They can't be walking down to the football field or to the track to meet their students. They need to remain in their cars to do so. And so we're not going to be able to allow any spectators. That includes parents, children, siblings, students, or media that are not participating in the conditioning will not be allowed to be part of that process or be on the facilities. So we're asking all student athletes to bring their own labeled water bottle and to not share their water, because we are unable to provide water for students. They will be able to fill up their water bottles, But in the same way that, at football practices or various practices, I know Alfie would work to bring water to the conditioning drills. We are unable to do that, so students will need to bring their own water. Restrooms will be available. The district is going to make sure that even in multi-use restrooms, it's still one person at a time, and that in terms of lines that form outside, students must remain masked and 6 feet apart. And then coaches are going to be responsible for ensuring that the cohorts stay together for conditioning. So essentially what that means is we're not going to have students wandering to different parts of the facilities. They'll be supervised by coaches at all times. And we will be providing hand sanitizer and PPE supplies, that's personal protective equipment supplies, that students and coaches can utilize. The restrooms will be sanitized each and every day after usage by each of the sports teams. And our site custodians are aware of that as well. Alrighty, so one of the things I wanted to touch on, for those of you who have not met Nurse Sasha, she is our school nurse. She is a full-time employee here at Claremont High School, and we wanted to make sure that you all have her contact info. Part of the process as you that clear pass procedure where you start to identify whether or not you've had any symptoms, whether or not you've been in contact with anyone who's had symptoms. There will be aspects of that if you select certain criteria, we're going to ask you to reach out to Nurse Sasha and notify her as well. So all of the coaches will have her contact info. If they suspect that anybody does not meet the criteria and needs to speak with a medical professional, Nurse Sasha will be available to speak with you about next steps for you and for our community.
So like I mentioned before, this is not a CIF sanctioned sport. These 3 teams that will be conditioning as of right now, it will fall underneath AAU insurance. So AAU insurance has been around since probably before I was born, which doesn't really say a lot because I'm not that old. But they work with a huge amount of sports across the entire country, and they offer insurance. We've already formed a club on there called Chieftain Athletics at the bottom. The club code is right there as well. YWE888. So when you go on to create your account to be able to condition with Claremont until December 12th, you'll need to pay the $14. And if you're having any problems with that, please reach out to either myself, Mr. Williams, or Ms. Thomas. But it's $14 for the whole year. And then once you join that Chieftain Athletics Club, then you are essentially cleared to play any AAU sanctioned events, which would be all of the conditioning on Claremont's campus. And then outside of that, if the football kids wanted to do a 7-on-7 with Morse High School, it would fall underneath this AAU insurance, which now everyone has. So it actually makes it a lot better for continuity, because then everyone has insurance either through the school when we're at CIF and through Unified, or through AAU insurance with any AAU sanctioned event. So these are our schedules. Field hockey is to be determined. I do not believe that Scott Bello made it onto this phone call, but I can field any questions for field hockey specifically. Football is going to go Monday through Thursday, 5 to 6:30 p.m. So they'll get to practice underneath the lights, which is pretty cool. And then cross country, as you can see, Monday, Thursday, Friday, they'll be on campus from 3 to 4:45. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, they will be going from 3 to 4:45 again, but off campus. So field hockey will more than likely slot right in between those. They should start around, I don't know, I want to say 3:30 or 4. Again, we said we didn't want to have teams on campus at the same time, but it's okay because cross country uses the upper field more than they do the actual stadium field, and field hockey would be able to be down there prior to football getting on and practicing. These are our coaches. Mr. Desmond Rose, I believe, is on the phone call or on the Zoom call. This is his email, so you can reach out to him at coachdrose@gmail.com. Our field hockey coach is Scott Bello. It's sbello@sandy.net. That's going to be the best way to reach him. And then our cross country coach is Nick Pradell. And that's npradell1@sandy.net. I don't know, Ethan, if you want to have them give a little spiel right now, if you want to have them just kind of introduce themselves, we could do that.
Sure, yeah. Maybe Coach Rose, if you're on the line, if you want to unmute yourself and just say hi and introduce yourself to maybe any of the students or families that have not had the privilege of getting to meet you yet.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay. Hey, you guys, I'm Coach Rose. I'm the head football coach. I've been at Claremont for 5 years. Me and Alfie came in together. Yeah, we're in for a really, really good season this year. I know it. So if you guys have not signed up, make sure you guys get me your information, coachdrose@gmail.com, so that we can get you guys signed up. We need all the freshmen and all their friends, as many as possible, or kids who have not played but do attend Claremont that are interested in playing. You guys shoot me an email. All right? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Rose. And next, I think Coach Pradell is on the line as well. Coach Pradell, if you want to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself to any of the students or families that haven't had a chance to meet you yet, that'd be great.
Hello, everybody. The name's Nick Pradell. I coach cross country as well as track and field. I'm back for, I believe it is my 5th year here with Claremont High. I was a former alum, graduating class of 2009, so I'm glad to be back once again to help the fellow chieftains create some awesome memories through running. So that's who I am.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Pradell. And I noticed that you put in there's a better email to use for Coach Pradell. So if you are interested in running cross country, I would encourage you to make sure you look in the chat at that email that Coach Pradell is encouraging folks to use, and we will get that slide updated as well. All righty, I'm going to ask Ms. Thomas to share a couple important dates, and we'll have some time for some more Q&A.
Absolutely. Hi, guys. Actually, I just wanted to answer a quick question real quick, Bob, to Bob Ross. It says that practice starts at 3, which is before flex time ends. Actually, flex time is from 1:30 to 2 every day, which are office hours. And the teacher prep time is from 2 to 3:30. So if your student has been utilizing some later office hours, you can definitely talk to Coach Pradell and you guys can work through the scheduling. As far as important dates are concerned, November 16th, that is actually the start date of when we can do our conditioning. Not before that date. On November 16th is the first day that we can start conditioning. December 12th is the CIF official first day of tryouts. Which is when we can actually no longer necessarily be a club to do the conditioning, but actually be our official CIF sport. December 18th is when our first scrimmage is allowed for season 1 sports, except for football. Football can have their first scrimmage on December 30th. And then December 19th is the CIF first contest for all season 1 sports, again, except for football. Football contests begin on January 7th.
Awesome. All right, so before we jump into this Q&A, there are a couple final things that I want to make sure we cover. So if I'm a student athlete and I'm interested in participating, one of the things I want to make clear is conditioning is for any student that's interested, regardless of your experience. I'll tell you, I didn't play football until I was in high school, and I was scared out of my mind. But fortunately, I joined and I had a blast. So what I would say is this conditioning part is not tryouts. This is open to everybody. The official start of the season is December 12th. And like Mr. Novak said, December 12th is rapidly approaching. It's literally a month away. So if I'm a student athlete, I'm definitely working right now, if I want to participate in conditioning, on getting my AAU insurance. And that was emailed.
And the San Diego Unified Internet went out. Oh, he's back.
Here we are. Am I back?
He's back. You're back.
Good. Did I do anything goofy or silly? Darn it.
Not quick enough for me to take a picture. Sorry.
So, okay, so like I was saying, if I'm a student athlete, one of the things you need to be working on right now, if you want to participate in conditioning, is get that insurance through AAU. And then the second thing is make sure you're connecting with your coaches. So make sure if you're running cross country, you're emailing Coach Pradell, or if you want to play football, you're emailing Coach Rose and letting him know, hey, make sure I'm on the email list or the text thread or whatever I need to be on so that I'm up to date on what's going on. And then also, because December 12th is right around the corner, make sure that you start work on getting cleared on athleticclearance.com, getting your physical turned in, and make sure that Mr. Novak has a copy of your insurance card because like I said, December 12th is going to be on us before we know it. So this is a ton of info. I know we threw at everybody. I know there are lots of questions. So at this point in time, we're going to let folks, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see more faces. And if you have questions, either feel free to unmute yourself. You can raise a virtual hand or a real hand, and then or type it in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those questions.